Hi, welcome to the second part of the MCEdit tutorial. In this tutorial, we will download filters from Seth Bling. We will create a flat desert world that we can destroy with TNT. We will learn the rest of the MCEdit controls. One of those controls is filter, and we will use filter to create mortars and a maze. Finally, we'll end the lesson by creating a pressure plate activated machine gun. This is just a quick preview for what we're doing today. We're creating a bunch of TNT mortars, and we're creating a giant maze. Alright, first we need to download our filters. So I'm going to open up Chrome, and I'm going to search for Minecraft filters. It's going to be the first link here, Seth Bling. If you don't know who Seth Bling is, you should definitely check out his YouTube videos. They're very in-depth, and they teach you guys a lot. The filters that I'm going to be downloading include Maze, so I'm going to go ahead and download that to desktop and hit save. And the next one that I'm going to be using is Mortars. Download that one and save that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. So here's Mortars and Maze. I need to put these in the correct folder, that way I can correctly apply the filters. So I'm going to double click on my MCEdit that I have from last video. And in MCEdit, it's going to be this first folder, the MCEdit 0.1.7.1. Double click on that, and you can see that there's a filters folder. That is the one that we need to add these to. So I'm going to click with my left mouse button, drag, and select both of these, and I'm going to drag them both into here. Alright, now our filters are ready to go. So the next step is to open up Minecraft and create a new world. You can use the world that you used in the last video, but I'm going to be creating a cooler world, and I think you should follow along. So I'm going to double click Minecraft to open it up, and the world that I'm going to be creating is going to be really deep sand, essentially. Make sure that I'm on the current version of Minecraft. Go ahead and click play. I'm going to go ahead and click on single player, and then I'm going to create a new world. I'm going to call this one Sand. The game mode, I'm going to change it to creative, just so I can get around faster. Under more world options, I'm going to change the world type just by clicking once to super flat. Now we are going to customize this by left clicking, and I'm going to go to the presets option, and I'm going to go down to desert, and then use the preset. So you should have something that looks like that. And then I'm going to hit done. Generate structures, leave that off. All these other options are correct. Hit done, and create new world. And once again, if you haven't already done so, hit escape, go to options, make sure your difficulty is on peaceful by left clicking, and I'm going to make sure that the hostile creatures are all the way off and friendly creatures are all the way off. Alright, so our world is generated. We can go ahead and exit out of it. It is important that you do actually exit out of Minecraft and not minimize, otherwise you're not going to be able to edit the map. So now I'm going to open up MCEdit by double clicking on the folder and then double clicking on the application. Alright, once MCEdit is open, we're going to click on Load World, and then double click on Sand, and that will open up the world we just generated. So remember our basic controls: Q goes up, Z goes down, and then you can use your WASD keys to strafe around. Alright, so last video we went over the select tool, the brush tool, the clone tool, the fill and replace tool, and finally the import tool. So we're going to be going over the rest right now. So the first one that we can play around with is move player. This is very self-explanatory, so you can choose the player that you want to move around. I'm going to move around myself, Mr. Math 3. You can go to the player if you ever get lost, and I can move the player by clicking right there. And then if I hit Control S, then it saves that that player is there. Moving the spawn point, that's the same story. If you don't know where the spawn is, you can click go to spawn, or you can place this down. Sometimes people will not be able to place this down, in which case you need to right click the move spawn point and then uncheck the spawn position safety. Unchecking that makes it so that it has a possibility of spawning it in sand, which is unsafe, I suppose. So, but that's a verified way to move the spawn point around. Alright, so now that we know what both of those do, we can use a trunk control tool. So if I go up here and I click chunk view, it will show me the chunks that have been loaded for this map. If I want to click on chunk control tool and I can zoom out a little bit, I can select blocks by holding down on my left mouse button and selecting them, and then I can delete those if I wanted to. I can extract them and just put them into a separate map if I want specific chunks in a different map. I can repop them, which just means repopulate. So if there are resources like trees or minerals, then it will put those back in those chunks. This is mainly a tool that's used for people that make errors in their maps, like, oh man, I shouldn't have mined all the trees because now I have no wood, so they would like repopulate it or something like that. Alright, so useful stuff. Going back to camera view, we got moved really far away, so I'm going to have to use my W key to get back to my map. Or actually, I can just go to move player, go to player. Aha! Using controls. Alright, so now we're going to be talking about filters. So the first filter we're using is going to be the Mortar Filter. The way that this works is for every lime green wool that's placed, that will be a spawner. It will spawn TNT, arrows, potions, or snowballs. So what that means is basically going to be throwing them from green wool, and it will be throwing it at red wool. So you can have like a bunch of lime green wool and like one red wool, and it will all target that. So let's go ahead and try that out. So I'm going to go to my brush tool. I want to make sure my length, width, and height are all 1, so I have a single block. I'm going to click on the stone, and then I'm going to search for lime. There's lime wool. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to move a little bit far away from my player because I don't want him to die, because I'm going to be making TNT. So I'm going to click once. Where do I want TNT to be spawning? There. And if I right click, I can scroll it out so it's like floating in the air. There. Scroll out a little bit more, and there. Alright, sounds good. Right click again to bring my mouse back. And now they need a target, so I need to left click on lime wool. I'm going to click on the red wool, hit OK. And they're going to be shooting over here. How about that's where my red wool will go. Alright, so now I need to select all of this to apply the filter. So I'm going to go back to my select tool. I'm going to do my best to select all of this like that, and then drag this up. Alright, I have selected all of the wool that's going to be being filtered. So I'm going to left click on my filter, and then under the filter name, I'm going to left click, and then I'm going to go to Mortars. If you don't see that, that means that you didn't apply the Python programs in the correct position. So when I click on Mortars, it's a bunch of options that I can choose from. The max height gain, that just means that the projectiles that are going to be shooting from these green wool, it's going to be in an arc. The lower number this is, the straighter it will shoot it. You can't do 0, so start at 1, and then you can go up to like 100, and it'll shoot really high if it's 100. I'm going to do 10, just to have a little bit of arch. I'm also going to change a few other things. I'm going to change the projectile to TNT, and I'm actually going to leave all of this the same. You can mess around with this if you want. And then when I hit filter, the red wool, which used to be right there, the shadows remained, it's gone. And if we come in here closer, we'll see that these are actually spawners. They kind of look like mob spawners. Alright, so that's our first filter. We're going to go ahead and hit Control S to save it. And then we're going to switch back over to Minecraft. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, minimize that, open up Minecraft. Alright, so as you can, oh my gosh, as you can see, there are these spawners of TNT, and they're digging a giant chasm into the sand. Very cool. Good thing I have bedrock at the very bottom. Alright, a little bit hard to hear me over all the TNT. So that's the first filter that we're learning. Let's switch back to MCEdit and learn another filter. So I'm going to make sure that I exit out of Minecraft, and I need to open up MCEdit. Remember that if you if you don't exit out of Minecraft, then you might have a corrupted file, or it just won't let you edit it altogether. I'm going to open up sand. I can hit F1, or I can just click sand. Alright, so it saved all the projectiles too. The little red things are the TNT, and the green things are explosions, I'm pretty sure. I'm not exactly sure. But you can see the hole that we've been building there. Let's go and make a maze. So, where's our player? Our player is right there. You can see the little box for the player. I'm going to make a maze over here. So I'm going to make sure that I have a big empty space. So I'm going to bring this up. The selection tool is actually grabbing some of the underground, and then I'm going to delete those blocks. Big empty space for the maze. Sweet. Alright. Now, I need to select the area for the maze that I want. I'm going to want a maze that's about yay big. The height of this is going to be the height of the hedges. Remember to bring the bottom of this up one so it doesn't like dig into the sand. And I'm going to go ahead and click on filter. Under the filter, I'm just going to go down to maze. And there's no options here. You just hit filter and wait for it to generate a maze for you. Alright, and that's done. So when I hit the select and deselect, you'll see this cool looking maze that you've just made. Unfortunately, this maze doesn't have an entrance, so you can see that each corner you can get to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select those 3 blocks and I'm going to delete them. Alright, now I can deselect them. Now I have an entrance to my maze, and I'm going to make the exit on the very end corner. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select these 3 blocks, delete blocks. Alright, sweet. So now I have a successful maze, and then I'm going to go switch over to Minecraft after hitting Control S. Okay, I can go ahead and minimize. Actually, yeah, I opened 2 instances of that. Going to Minecraft. Alright, and there's our maze. It's very cool, very large, very hard to navigate. Alright, next is the machine gun. So go to an open area, and you're going to need the following items. I'm actually going to make this full screen to make it easier to see. So we're going to need a basic block. I'm just going to use a stone, and then I'm going to need stuff under the redstone tab. So go to the 3rd tab. I'm going to need a dispenser. I'm going to need a lever. I'm going to need a redstone torch. I'm going to need a repeater, and I'm going to need some redstone. I'm also going to need some arrows to shoot, so I'm going to type arrow. And then if I hover over the arrow and then I hit 9, 8, and 7, it'll fill up the 9, 8, 7 inventory slot with arrows. Alright, so now that I have my stuff, I'm going to go ahead and place 4 blocks. And then I'm going to have a dispenser facing this way. So the basic way that a dispenser works is if you have redstone hooked up to it, and then you apply a charge, then it will activate. So I'm going to fill this up with arrows right now, just to show you what that looks like. So if I activate it, it shoots out an arrow. If I deactivate it, nothing happens. Activate it, shoots out an arrow. Alright, so we need to hook this up to a clock that cycles really fast. So in order to do that, I'm going to come back here and show you the basic design for a clock. So a basic clock looks something like this. So you have your basic plus there, and then you bring up 2 sides here, and then you can give yourself a redstone torch on either side, front and back. It doesn't actually matter if it's on the back. And then you have redstone in between and on the top, and this will cycle very fast. So that's exactly what we want to build over here. So I'm going to go ahead and build that here. One more up. Alright, so now our machine gun is shooting super fast. Okay, if we want to turn this off, we can apply a lever on the back and turn it on so it stays on. And we can see that it's shooting right about there, so we need to make it so that whenever we hit a pressure plate, it's going to shoot at us. So we're going to have something that links around to the back and then activates it. So in order to do that, we're going to put the pressure plate, I would say, right about here. So we actually need a pressure plate. And I'm going to put it right there. And that should be able to activate that. Okay, so pretend that all of this redstone is underground and no one can see it. I'm actually going to come over this way. And then I'm going to make sure that I use a repeater, just in case I run out of energy for the redstone torch. Alright, so this is probably the most important part. So I'm going to have the redstone, it's actually going to be coming up into a brick, and this is a NOT gate. And I place a torch here, and I place redstone from there to the actual machine gun. There we are. So everything is wired correctly. And if I make sure that this is loaded with arrows, and then I come back over here, if I step on this, it will power the strip, and then it will unpower this. And if this is unpowered, then the clock will go off, and then it will shoot at you, hopefully. Alright, let's step on the plate. There we go, we're being shot at. And that's exactly how you make a pressure plate machine gun. So, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.